What's going on with all the vampires? And where's Tyler? Let us tell you. Hello and welcome everybody to Nerd News. I am your host and solo host this week, Tyson Cox. My co-host Tyler Waltz is on vacation currently doing long-haired boy things. I'm not sure you do with long hair, but he's out there doing it. And so it's going to be just me this week. I'm going to give you guys a brief update. This will probably be a little bit shorter one because much like ranch dressing, I'm very pale and no good on my own. If you're joining us, please check out our Patreon. We actually got our first sponsor. It's called My Day Job. So you guys get it. It's a fun little goof. Anyways, we're just here to tell you kind of what's going on. We're going to start with talking about the old vampires. What's going on with them? I'm a creepy guy. I like cryptids. I like spooky boys. You know, werewolves are my preferred, so I always get a little mad when vampires seem to keep coming back. And I've noticed vampires it's a very cyclic, very reoccurring love of vampires. Because I'm in my mid-30s, you know, I've been around long enough. I've witnessed firsthand how like certain trends in media seem to come and go in cycles, you know. And it was really interesting because in the early 2000s, reality TV shows like Survivor and American Idol were all the rage. And then, in the late 2000s and early 2010s, vampire movies and TV shows, you know, like Twilight and True Blood, huge, absolutely massive. And I think we're about to hit another peak vampire season, as it were. And if you're not really exactly sure what I mean about the cyclic, you ever find out there's a word you can't just say? If you're ever trying to figure that out, it's easy. You'll notice it eventually, and it's not so bad. You can kind of hop on trends, you know, when they're coming up. So a lot of things can actually kind of trigger like why vampires are back. You know, it happens a lot often. This will be the third time I think that they've had a big pop in my lifetime, and I think that's because we're done. Superhero movies, everyone feels like they've seen them. Every now and again, you're going to get a good show or a good movie, but they're going to be fewer and far between. And vampires are really good because they touch into an innate fear that we all have, you know, death, dying, the unknown. They are a more sexy or sexified version of creatures, and the budgets are a lot easier to do. Because I grew up watching, I'd go to the Family Video, go to the dollar section, get 2 movies for $1. Old baby. Family Video was still a video store, and I would just rent horror movies, and they're usually they're great, they're visceral, they're cheap to make comparatively. Creature features were more my thing, not these slashers, and that's why I'd watch a good chunk of vampire movies because they're easy. You're like, okay, they snuck in, they were the bad guys, get them. So I think that's kind of why we are back onto vampires and out of superheroes because we've seen it. Like, I'm excited. Blue Beetle seems fun. It'll be a nice, different take on some things, having a Hispanic lead. Will it change things that much? I doubt it. I have a feeling it's going to be a very similar superhero story where guy does not have powers, guys has powers, guys fight bad guy win bad guy. But I kind of just want to talk about like the brief history of vampires in pop culture because they've been around forever, 18th century. But it seems like they're here and they'll come back because there are classic stories you can tell. And it starts kind of with Bram Stoker, was in 1897. Huge, absolutely phenomenal. Dracula popularized the vampire archetype and introduced many of the classic vampire tropes we see today. And then the Universal Studios actually produced a series of classic horror movies featuring Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, you know, with Bela Lugosi, Swamp Thing, all these things back in 1931. So we're not even just talking like 2010, 2020. We've been around forever. Because I remember back in the 80s with like Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, like what was it, Lestat, Queen of the Damned, you know, and then there's 30 Days a Night. Like, there's just been so many good vampire movies throughout the year that it makes sense that they're going to keep coming back because although the stories can be very similar, there's a lot more depth to them because there's a Jim Carrey movie where he becomes a vampire. A lot of comedy in a Jim Carrey movie. Who would have thought? And then you can even use them as a backdrop piece, like oh my God, like Buffy. Phenomenal Buffy. It was so good. The effects were so low and pretty bad that it like has like a real campy, cheesy nostalgia in my head, you know? And then you hit 2010s, and that's something you guys may be more and more familiar with like the Twilight series, the Vampire Diaries, fine. But then you can see in recent, we're back again. And recently, this year alone, we're going to be having 2 vampire movies in theaters, I think at the same time, or at least real close to each other. That would be Renfield and then The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I hope they do really well, because I enjoy the because some of them can be very good. Like Midnight Mass, if you haven't had a chance to watch that, watch that. Then John Wick, I know we've talked about this maybe on the podcast a little bit, but that's a vampire movie disguised as an action movie. You tell me how many times you can get shot and how much night dancing you can do. But so, I mean, that's kind of like what's going on with the vampires in media. It's because we've overdone superheroes and now we got to move to something else. Star Wars isn't doing great. And, you know, vampires are a good classic staple. And with vampires usually comes other creature features. So I'm really hoping werewolves can actually get another good movie. Because even though like Dog Soldiers was nice and I enjoy how typically bad werewolf movies are, there's been a couple really good ones, and I think we're due. It's been a long time since we've had a good werewolf movie. But yeah, let us know what you guys think about your preferred vampire movie. Are you guys vampires, you werewolf? You let us know. Tell us in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. We are currently locked out of our custom email, so I'm figuring that out. Try to get that as a gift to Tyler when he gets back. And then I just want to talk real quick about kind of what's going on with the nerd news, what's going on. If you guys could, please like, subscribe, share. If you got an extra couple of bucks, it could really help us out. Go to our Patreon. We're going to eventually be getting some content that you'll get first access to. But right now it is just hey, I like you. I got $3, have some, you know. But we are currently Midwest based. We are trying to build up a community. We are doing our Monster shows, which is a monthly at the White Rabbit, and then we are expanding. We are currently booked in 4 different states, or have performed in 4 different states, doing live play D&D. We're doing community building events where I'm actually going to be running. Me and Kevin, he was on the pod, are going to be running just a D&D night at Planetary Brewery in Greenwood on the 25th of this month. So if you guys are around, come out, sign up online. You can find that through my personal Facebook page. So if you guys like D&D, check out Monster. We're trying to get it so it's going to be online. You got to figure out how that all works and shakes out. And we still do stand-up, so if you guys have a venue that you think would love to have us, we'd love to come out and do it. We've done it in comic book shops. I've put up shows everywhere, breweries, rowdy bars, help put on theater shows, stuff like that. So I think that's all I got this week. It's going to be a little bit shorter. We were going to have a guest, but due to some technical difficulties, couldn't make it work. Didn't want to leave you guys hanging, so you got to hear me rant about vampires. But we'll be back next week. Tyler's still out, but I'm going to have a guest. So thank you again, guys. Like, subscribe, share, and hey, 900 followers on YouTube, 50,000 on TikTok. So you guys are out there. Thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for supporting the shorts. And we're starting to do nerd reviews as well, which those are still going to be hitting every Monday. So thank you. See you guys soon.